Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to welcome you all at my webinar, which is called Social Engineering in terms of preparation for the CISSP exam. My name is Evgeny Kashtanov, and I'm certified CISSP specialist. To understand fully and fundamentally this topic in detail, we will gonna touch all of the aspects, such as principles. Principles, common attacks like scams and hoaxes, and identity theft and impersonation. And we will finish with the influence campaigns through the social media. So it's sometimes it's hard for some people to understand what is the social engineering is. So social engineering is the manipulation of our basic human trust, our desire to help other people, and our desire to avoid certain conflicts. We trust people kind of implicitly. It's a kind of human nature thing. We also are a bit greedy and love to get all sorts of discount and special offers when we get involved in such situations. On top of that, we will hold the door for a person if his hands are full, or we will get him on a bus to let the granny see. And of course, we will pass our ID documents to police officer for verification. If he asks them, who are we to challenge that? So this basic knowledge of human nature helps attackers obtain the information or use the services with our help they need. So the slide shows various examples of it. So for example, the website claims to offer free temporary access to its products and services, but it requires a web browser or firewall alterations, which in turn leads to reduce of the overall security in the system, or maybe your personal. It could lead to some malicious plugins downloaded or extensions, or maybe some setting could be changed and it will lead to the bad situations. Or maybe it's a help desk who is receiving a call from someone who is claiming that he's a department manager and now is in another city on a meeting, but he lost his account password and wants to reset it. Why is this person calling us if he's not in such situation? Why not? We should help them. Someone who looks like a repair technician claims a service call was received for a malfunctioning device in the building, and the technician comes to us and says, "Hey, may I log into your computer to fix this quickly?" Well, it could be a tech person because we simply don't know everyone in the organization, or maybe not a tech person who is fixing some, network stuff or software. It could be a person from another organization, such as from attorney office.
Sorry, your presentation, we don't see your presentation.
Yeah.
Can you show
Yeah, sure.
again?
Yeah, sure. Excuse me.
Okay.
Is it okay now?
Yes, I see it.
Great. So we stopped on when someone from the third organization, not from your own organization, come to yours and they say, "Hello, we're from attorney office," or maybe with some medicines or courier. It could be that people, but you have to err on the side of cautious anyway. Maybe a worker receives a communication from someone asking to talk with a coworker by name, and there is no such person currently previously working for the organization. It will be a scenario like this. "Hello, may I speak to Dan, the head of the sales department?" "Oh, I'm sorry, Dan is not the head of our sales department. It's Jill who is the head of our sales department." "Oh, sorry, seems I missed." So this simple situation shows us how easily to obtain, how easily to gather some information from a phone call. And of course, be very suspicious for the person who asking you some personal questions, maybe on some forums, or maybe even in person, such as what is your education, what is your school mascot, or what is your uncle's name. So your uncle's name could be represent maiden's name of your mother. And all these personal questions can help attackers to remove your password. If you remember when you are registering on some email web service such as Google or maybe Mail or some services like banks, you have some questions that asked you by the system to uh, reset your access to your account if you lost it. So answering these questions or providing this information to the attackers will simply you are giving them the keys from your account. Let's move on and talk about some basic principles that describes how social engineering attack works. So the first principle is authority. So I'm from the security service. I'm your boss's boss. I'm from the prosecutor office. I'm from FBI. Anyone who make your life way worse if you want to obey the orders. That's why we usually get backwards and let these people do their job. The principle of authority. The second principle that goes very well with the principle of authority is the principle of intimidation. If the victim does not soften up immediately, the attacker can add threats, something like that. You will be fired, brought to court, I don't know, like arrested, or maybe the virus will delete all your files, maybe some ransomware, or your personal messages will be publicly available. People usually don't want all these things. They typically get backwards. Better to follow the orders. But keep in mind that people in charge won't threaten you by phone or email. They are way more politely and they know how to do their job. This is how that is how attackers usually get success. So the third principle is consensus. Like everyone else is doing it. Oh, like everyone has already updating the operating system. Everyone has already updated the new database. Do you saw that report which we have to fulfill? Which report? It was sent by our CEO. Oh, seems it's okay thing to do in it. When you are working in the large organization, maybe not so large, you will see that people usually talk to each other, and if they see that some action is safe, they simply repeat it with because their coworkers were done it. Everyone are jumping from the cliff. What am I waiting for? I have to join. So the principle of consensus. The next principle is scarcity. That's how attackers very often take leads of us. We are sometimes a bit greedy. So only 2 tickets left. An hour before the end of drawing. Anything that forces you to make as a decision right here, right now. And typically it's a bad decision. They are putting you in a situation where you have to act right now. So don't fall with it. Also, this principle goes well with the principle of urgency, which we talk a little bit later. Familiarity, the next principle. It's an attempt to gain trust through common non-work activities. This is where also the social networks becoming a bit dangerous. Imagine someone confronts to you and says, I'm from university, or we go to the same gym, or we buy coffee at the same spot. All this makes the stranger in front of us not such a stranger and builds some basic trust. So because we have some common activities with that person, this allows attackers to socially interject to your worldview, to interject to your world picture. You are starting to think that this person is not a stranger anymore. Imagine you are receiving a phone call like, hi, I'm Dan. We have some issues with your network, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I will call you back in a moment. I have urgent things to do. And in 20 minutes, Dan calling us back, and he's not stranger anymore. We have talked like 20 minutes ago. And with time, this trust, which was gathered with the principle of familiarity, it evolves to the permanent trust. It can take minutes or months, or maybe more, maybe less. It depends what attackers wants to do. But this is a trust. This is a trust which will pay the price of your deception. Uh, the attacker will simply sacrifice it for a profit. To put it simply, you will be fooled. And the last but not least, the principle of urgency, which goes well with scarcity, as you remember. Imagine that you receive a phone call that hackers are already in your system, and if you won't turn these settings off or maybe download something antivirus thing, your files would be deleted, your access will be banned, and everything will go bad. Hurry, hurry, hurry up. Right here, right now, making decision, almost the same as scarcity. Or maybe something like this, like imagine you have some cloud services provided for your organization, and you get such email that, for example, your annual subscription to our cloud services has expired, and if you don't make the payment immediately, everything that what was stored will be deleted with no possibility of recover. And here's, by the way, the payment bill. Some situation like that. So once again, all these principles, authority, intimidations, and others, let hackers to enter your life. This is the basic principles. Okay, let's move further and talk about the general protection methods, how we can protect us from that. So the first, and I guess the main thing, is the training. If your employees do not know what threatens them, how they can resist it? They should be well aware of this and how the specific attack patterns works according to their position. If you are working in accounting department, you know how the invoice procedures work. If you working as a security guard, you know the basic principles, which people you can let in and which people can't let in. And always take additional measures for any business or technical processes and other communications over the phone. Use multi-factor authentication. For multi-factor authentication, you can use personal numbers, date of hire, numbers of some contracts that this current person is involved in. And of course, I suppose it's the main thing to protect and to realize what person is talking to you is that the legit call is to use a callback service. So the callback service is when you calling someone, not someone calling you, because when someone calls you, all the conversation goes of the scenario of this person. However, if you call back to the person who is asking you, for example, to reset your password or give your credentials, and turns out, sometimes it will turns out that it was not the person, you get fooled off. And that's it's because the attackers use different methods to hunt their numbers they are calling from. So you will get the legit call on your phone or maybe your computer. And also don't forget that artificial intelligence already syncs with the voices of celebrities, and your voice is no exception. If somebody calls you directly, you want them to verify this person's identity. Use the callback function. And also be careful when providing this or that consulting assistance, as we talked a couple slides ago. If you don't know the person who is calling to you, you shouldn't report them any activities in your organizations, any persons who are working in. And of course, you shouldn't never pass secret information over the phone or with email in plain text. Such information as passwords should never be written, and also it should never be asked. If you have a call from a person who said, "I'm from a bank and I need your password for something," it's not a bank. They can only ask you some questions to verify your identity, not to verify your credentials. Be aware of it. And also, you always have to check documents and reasons for visit from all employees of third party on maybe the person's organizations, couriers, or other representatives. It's not being rude. It's just being cautious. You simply have to make sure that this person has appeared here not by his own will, that this is a prearranged meeting. You always have to keep it in mind. And of course, do not ever follow any instruction received by mail from sources that 100% know to you. Make sure that you know this contact and this person who's sending you a mail. And of course, never open any attachments from sources you don't trust 100%. I'm not saying never open attachments. I just say open only attachments you are 100% sure of. And one thing I have to stop in very, very solid. You should always be sure of the identity of the person who's talking to you, and don't let the social press mislead you. Yes, all these procedures are performed several times a day, sometimes even in relation to the same employees. This is not a reason to lower our awareness. Uh, this is what attackers are waiting for. When you make a mistake in certain routine actions, it's not being rude. You are just cautious. Remember it. So let's move on the types of attack. Let's talk about phishing. Well, I can say with confidence that each of us can be its target at least once. I hope our spam filters didn't not miss these emails, or we simply noticed them, or we showed our due care nevertheless. The purpose of phishing is to steal your authentication data, your credentials. And phishing can happen anywhere, through the web, through the email messages, even in person. It could be a mailer who delivered you a flyer. So phishing is usually random to a large group. Basic phishing looks like the website that is crafted just like the original one and used to steal your credentials. I guess everyone got such emails like, here's a 90% discount on all Apple products via this link, or via this link you can get your free Windows 12 beta versions to try on. And many messages that will entice you to follow the link. So, but in the future, the options may vary. You may be offered to Microsoft website. Actually, it wouldn't be Microsoft website, or install a plugin. And in some point in time, it seems to you that it is original website and everything goes fine, but it's not. When you enter your credentials, they will be simply stored in the attacker's database for future exploit attacks, maybe using your services or getting your money out. So the goal here is to enter your credentials or to download something or maybe adjust some settings. Hackers simply trying to get rid of you. Let's talk about some basic protections from that. Be suspicious of all unexpected emails, which was talked earlier, and email messages from unknown senders. Always err on side of cautious. If you don't know Bill Gates personally, you can't expect the email of Bill Gates, who is telling you that there is a free Windows version for you. So if you also, you shouldn't never open unexpected email attachments which come in with these letters. They could be harmful. They can simply corrupt your computer and your hard drive. And as we said earlier, also never share sensitive information via email. Typically, not typically, administrators never asking your passwords. They don't need it to watch your activity from your account. So don't let this information go in plaintext, especially via mail or on the phone. And also avoid clicking on any links that you got. And when we're talking about CISSP exam, we all guys have to get the manage view of the situation. And of course, we have to know some terminology to jiggle it over the time. Let's talk about it. So some terms I want you to know. Phishing simulation is a training for employers. For example, in on my previous job, it was something like that. You was you got the email from your manager or from your supervisor with something that engage you and in a conversation, and they want you to make some activity, and for example, to fulfill a report, and they are sending you a link. But the email, the address of the sender wasn't altered a bit. So, for example, it could be Latin letters, which was replaced with Cyrillic letters because a lot of them look similar, exactly similar, and something like that. And if you click this link and you didn't show your awareness, you didn't show that you was cautious, you are simply transferred to the web portal of corporational training of your organization, and you have to make the training again, and your managers and supervisors were notified about that. So this is how phishing simulation works. The next term is spear phishing or business email compromise. It's a phishing of the specific group or organization. So when the business email compromise often happens inside of the organization, so it's fraudulent mails that come in from your colleagues, from your bosses, or maybe from your account departments. They are happening inside your organization. But spear phishing, it's when, for example, imagine that there is a session in the university, and the attacker has a database with marks of all students, and he's crafting such phishing letters to the students who have a good marks, who are good students, and we are, for example, we have a discount for them for the books, for the literature, maybe for some extra courses to develop their profession. And for the bad students, we are offering them someone who will pass exams for them or make a homework for them. So this situation is called spear phishing. And the last term is whaling. It's phishing that targets a high-value person, CEO, maybe just high net worth person, big businessmen. You don't even imagine how much more these people get in some spam or something like that, because they have access to almost all accounts in an organization. They know a lot of information about organization, and they have hold some actives by their own actives by their own. Yeah. Well, all of this makes them very attractive target to attackers. But typically, these people know how to protect themselves from that. So usually they know how to do it. Okay, let's move further to other types of attacks like smishing and wishing. So it's the same phishing, but via SMS or IP telephony. It could be used anywhere, such as Telegram, WhatsApp, chat, Discord, Slack, Teams, and anything like that. All possible services. I'm sure that we all received text messages that one of our friends or relatives was in trouble and we urgently need to transfer money to help them, or calls from a bank employees with information that our account is threatened by intruders, and to block your card and account, you need to send me the codes that will now come to you in SMS, something like that. All of us got such SMS, maybe not even once a day. Usually it takes the following forms. So it could be text that asking for a response or reply. So remember that in early 2000s, and it was very popular services that you can replace your ringtone with some music or something like that, and you will simply send an SMS, short SMS to the short number, and voila, you get your ringtone, but you were charged for $1, maybe two. The same concept is here. If you simply answer the question you will be charged from your operator and so on. So text asking for response or reply. Text including hyperlink. It's a basic spam, and if you click the link, you will be transferred to the site which is controlled by attackers, or to the somewhere which is downloading has started. Maybe it can be a text that including pretext engage, which was talked just a second ago, like our friend is trouble, or maybe our relative is in trouble, and you have to help them. Phishing is the same thing as smishing, but taking place in instant messaging services. Completely the same thing, but nowadays messages are way more popular than SMS. That's why phishing coming in front. All we have to know about this, besides what we talk about SMS, it's that in phishing it's very easy to mask your caller ID, because in your services you can put your avatars on your profile, such as WhatsApp, Telegram, and anything else. Excuse me, give me a sec. I'm sorry. So it's very easy to attackers to mask the caller ID when you are using some WhatsApp or Telegram. They can put avatars, they can put nicknames or something like that. Here on the screen, you have a typical example of what's going on in such interrogations. So, hi mom, it's me. This is my new number. You can save this number and delete the old one. So someone is writing to your mom and asking them to delete your number. You have to keep in mind that the main thing, the main protection method from phishing is the callback function. So if someone calling you and asking you to transfer money, or getting you engaged in some conversation, or sending you some links, simply call back. It will help. Moving next, and the next is a spam. And I really want you to ask, do not confuse spam with some newsletters or you have subscribed to on a particular portal, on a particular website, and which can be canceled. Nowadays, there is a law enforced that say if you want to mass mail users with advertisements, you have to have an options to unsubscribe. If there is an unsubscribe function, that's fine. It's not a spam. Spam is unwanted and unclaimed messages, unsolicited, that come to us from all sources like SMS, mail, messages, social networks, and others. These messages can harm our computer and the organization as a whole. After all, this spam can contain some malicious code such as viruses, logic bomb, ransomware, and others. And some spams are vector of the social engineering attacks, like hoax messages. We will talk about them a little bit later. Unwanted email wastes, of course, it wastes your time. You have to sort through it. It's tons of mails you have to read and understand what it is. And of course, it wastes internet resources. So like storage capacity, computer cycles, and the overall throughput. Yeah, spam is a big deal nowadays. Let's look at some spam facts over here. So imagine this is around 45% of the total emails in the web are spam. And if you remember that your mails you can unsubscribe to is not a spam, imagine how many it is. So if we simply open up our personal email, we will see a lot of messages we can unsubscribe. But imagine that how many it is from which we can't. Also, uh, I want to put your attention on that the 77% of organizations face business email compromise in 2021. And the average cost of this business email compromise was around $6 million. So I guess the business losing a fortune with the spam. It's huge and tremendous amounts of money. I can add nothing else to that. I remember the situation on my previous job when we got our senior manager, and he missed a very important letter, and it was flew to spam, and he missed the dates, and he couldn't perform his work properly in time. So he was outraged, and he told us to turn all out of the spell filters, all out of spam filters. And we chiefly asked him to not to do this, but he was undemanded. He he was completely sure that he needs it. But after I guess 2 or 3 hours, maybe at the end of the day, when he got around 42,000 emails arrived, he came to us and guilty asked to turn it back in, turn it back on. So this is how many spam we get on daily basis. Couple of terms you need for the CISSP exam. It's email spam filters. So it's a filters of content and headers of the mail that are examining this mail by keywords which marks messages as spam. They can be executed as an add-on of the mail server or as a whole, so on the client side and on the side or both. So there are many mass messaging services in the world, and attackers know about it and successfully use it. Also, we have to put glance on a thing called spoofed mail. So many ordinary users have no idea how much spam services these services generate. So they're extremely cheap. It's you are paying like cents for the thousands of emails, and also these spoofed mails can be faked to some persons you know. So you can get mails from the person which was altered a bit, and you will think that is a legitimate email from a person you know. So let's move next. Scams and hoaxes. First of all, let's talk about invoice scams. I have to admit, I have not encountered this in my practice, but I have consulted with few industry experts and found out that it rarely happens and takes almost every time it takes new forms. So, in my opinion, this is due to the fact that all the principles of protections that we will talk about now are used in these organizations. At its core, scam invoice is targeting account departments, sending them fraudulent invoices to pay. So this is a business email compromise, which was talked about earlier. So the basic protections from that would be that the work is understood invoicing procedure, so they are fully informed how to perform their job. It's written in their job description. The principle of separation as duty is enforced between placing the orders and those who process the invoice. You can't have the same person who is placing the orders and fulfilling them. And also, it's very good to have a third group who will audit your invoice activities, who is observing from the third side and not particularly involved in the situation. And of course, all these invoice bills should be compared to expected ones. If you don't have any contracts with, I don't know, for example, organizations that delivers you water, you don't have to pay them $5 million. It's a fraudulent invoice. Also, we have basic hoaxes that are convincing the target to perform an action that will cause problems or reduce IT security. They are convincing you that taking no action will end the world. Your computer will be crashed, your system is out of date and not supported anymore. Your files will be deleted, etc. Something like that. And also they have some propagation effect. So take care of your friends and tell them to perform the same action. We have all received such messages. So like if you don't send this message to 10 users, you won't be able to use WhatsApp. Oh, we have a perfect example right here on our picture. So send this message to 10 people. As soon as all of them have read your message, you will get an SMS from WhatsApp with an activation code. And once you enter this code, you will no longer to pay the WhatsApp fees because it's becoming payable in 2013. Yeah, some messages like this. So they often convincing us that taking action will cause harm and have some propagation of that. Basic hoaxes. And to understand that if this message is hoax or maybe it's real alert, so you can use services like Fish Tank and Snopes. Snopes is more political service and Fish Tank is more general service. So you can check out some hoaxes over there. Going next, impersonation masquerading. So impersonation is an attempt to pretend to be someone or to carry out certain actions on behalf of someone else, usually for a profit. And email through the phone, it can happen in emails, through the phone, or in person. It all forms of it. There is a movie from 90s with Sandra Bullock called The Net, when the person stole her identity and she was trying to recover herself, and it was terrifying. Uh, it can take different forms, but when we are talking about defenses in person, you have to keep these things in mind. So first of all, these access badges, so that represents a person to us. Security guards also help us with that. They are comparing the credentials of persons that coming into your organization and so on. Also, all visits should be pre-arranged. One more time, it's not rude to ask the credential for a person, to ask their ID or passport. It's just being cautious. It's not rude. Or you can call to their supervisors and make sure that this visit is arranged and everything goes well. And of course, it will be way more safer if the security guards or people who get an interaction with that person are escorting him through the building. If you are talking about the defenses over the phone, always it's a multi-factor authentication and the callback function. Generally helps you with that. One more thing I want to stop on one more time is not to fall on the social pressure. Don't let the attackers mislead you. Yes, we did these actions maybe to this person not even once a day, but you have to still keep going. You don't have to lower your awareness, overall awareness. Yeah. And one more thing I have to stop before we go into the next slide. That's in terms of when we're talking about CISSP exam, impersonation is way more complex thing to perform than masquerading. So impersonation usually it takes more efforts to make impersonations than masquerading. You have to know about that. So social engineering, I mean shoulder surfing. So shoulder surfing is a social engineering in person. That's exactly what you and I mean. It is when the person is observing your actions over your shoulder. A lot of people would say, I will notice someone standing on my shoulder. Actually, you wouldn't. When you are doing something, you are not paying attention on anything else. You are staying completely focused. We did studies after studies to prove this fact, and this fact is proved. You should not view the classified information in public space. And if you enter a password or PIN code, you should make the input. Remember, when you are coming to ATM, your PIN code is masked with stars uh, when you are providing this info. So This is one of the good protection methods. And if you still need to process some confidential information in public space in one way or another, be sure of that. That you have your back to the wall, there is no windows on the side, and you can log in, for example, to your mail and observe some confidential emails that you got. When we talk about shoulder surfing in offices, people often use desks with tall walls so that people in the same workspace can carry out their work functions, even if some of them will be confidential to the colleagues and other employees. For example, you don't want your, mm, sales department to know how things go in tech department. These walls are helping you with that. And of course, the screensavers. When you are getting out of your computer, for example, for a conversation or just for a break or maybe for a lunch, in a minute or two, it have to be blocked, and you have to provide your credentials again to retain the access. Tailgating and piggybacking. So it's an attempt to pass through the doors without a pass. Simple like that. Tailgating occurs without the consent of the victim. Imagine the situation, for example, you were just walking to your office, but you did not close the door to the floor behind you when you were at the elevator lobby. You expected it will be closed automatically. This was taken advantage of by a man who was reading something on his phone, who was standing near the door, but quickly put his foot between the jump and the door and was able to follow you. All out of habit, you held it, not paying attention to who is behind you. Yeah, this is one more time when you can get your social pressure to mislead you. We are always polite. Why not to grab the door for the person who is following you? This is not how things have to go. So you have to be sure that the person who is coming next after you also have permissions to enter. You can fix this in the following ways. So uh, one of the things is to change user behavior. So make some posters, make some awareness campaign, make some training. So showing some situation like that. So you don't let the person who is coming after you to follow you. Uh, this is the attempts to change the user's behavior. Also, it's very beneficial if you are enforcing tailgate protection such as man trap. So it's a simple mechanism. I guess all of us saw this. One person in, one person out. When you simply comes in, the door closes after you. When you are providing your credentials to the simple door opens again and you can come out. Also, the security guards and cameras are helping you with that. But as a CISSP professional, you have to get the managerial view of all these things, and keep in mind that guards are way more expensive than other methods. When we are talking about piggybacking, here the attacker is already trying to deceive the victim to fool it. So, for example, he will his hands full with a parcel and he will ask you to hold the door, or he will be dressed in a way that will not arouse our suspicions. Maybe it can be a courier guy, tech person, or maybe a representative of the law, maybe a policeman, or maybe from meds. Some medicals came in. Uh, I remember a situation which took place in 2010s in one big shopping malls in Moscow, in a very, very big hypermarket. So a group of technicians came into the supermarket dressed apart like a technicians, and they said they have to fix something, and they simply screwed away all the flat screens in the building, get them in the car, and drove away. And no one asked them any questions because people act with confidence and seems they know what they were doing. So No one asks them questions. Therefore, in such cases, if you see some kind of similar situations or you get involved in it, like actively participating in it, ask for documents from those who ask you for help, or better redirect them to main entrance to get the help from security, and also enforce the turnstiles and man traps. Moving further, dumpster diving and identity theft. So, yeah, I know it sounds terrible, but dumpster diving is exactly like it sounds like. It's digging through trash, discarded equipment, or abandoned locations. It's an attempt to find useful information or other informations in discarded equipment. You can't even imagine how many interesting things can be found in the old offices after the company moves. Me personally was founding accounting documents with amounts of payments, dates, contracts numbers, salaries uh, in such office. I have personally found it. And and if on the territory of my homeland, it will be yellow card. So, but believe me, in the States, the United States, it's a straight red card and removing from the field because personal financial data is treated very, very carefully. And this is regulated by complex and very cumbersome legislation. But this is the topic of the next webinar. So you, if you saw the TV series Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, dumpster diving there is perfectly demonstrating. The main hero is literally dive to the trash and gathering the parts of document, which was later was represented to the court and helped him to win the case. So that's how it is. When we talk about preventions from the dumpster diving, you simply have to put an eye on your discarded equipment and the things you don't use anymore. So you have to shred it or incinerate all your documents, and as well as your storage media. Uh, you have to sanitize it. If you are planning to transfer it to someone for future use, you have to make sure that all the information that which stored there is sanitized and can be recovered. Uh, when we talk about identity theft and identity fraud, it's terms used to refer all types of crimes in which some person unlawfully obtains and uses another person's data in some way involving fraud, usually for economic gain. So it's at first glance, these two terms may seem to us identical, but they are not. For the exam, it is necessary to distinguish between these two concepts. So identity theft is identity theft. It's simply me stealing your login and password. But identity fraud, which sometimes called the credentials hijacking, is using of these stolen credentials to make a profit. So if I simply stole your credentials and did nothing with that, it's identity theft. But if I performed some certain actions, it's an identity fraud. Typo squatting, typos. So attackers very often register domains that are very similar to well-known sites, but contain a small error. Let's look at the picture. So on the picture, we got the GitHub with L, Google with U, Amazon with O, and etc. All of this could be mistyped or could be used to deceive us. This is done so that the victim, when he himself made a mistake when entering the address in the string, got to an identical website and logged in there, saved his credentials to the malicious database of attackers that use in the future to exploit the target. Oh, so that the link provided to the victim that at first glance leads to a well-known site, thereby forming the opinion that he can be trusted, but in fact not. This is called the URL hijacking. And for example, you saw the link to the Google or maybe GitHub website, but it was altered, and somewhere the offsite downloading of some plugins or maybe changing of some settings has just started by the script. And this is called URL hijacking, this activity. And it can be achieved when you're exploiting the search engine by raising its malicious site and thereby increasing the number of victims. I have personally observed such websites on maybe fourth, fifth, or maybe sixth pages on a Google search. So the next term is the clickjacking. Clickjacking is a means of redirecting a user's click or a selection on somewhere on web page, like shows on this picture, to something similar. I mean, it's a redirection of user's click or selection, often to a malicious target instead of intended desired locations. So imagine that you see an absolutely legitimate link to Facebook, but when you click on the link, the script will redirect you not to Facebook or maybe to something similar that will prompt you to enter your email password. Maybe on Facebook, but somewhere background download of some plugin start. And usually clickjacking can be performed with CSS. So CSS is a computer language for laying out and structuring our web page. The forms, the fonts, like here's a blue one, here's a gray one, big sizes of forms, and even button functions on web page are created using this language. Also, this also clickjacking can lead to more severe attacks like CSRF, for example. So let's one more time look at the picture. Here you see the payment button. Here is the payment button, which is hidden. Yeah, hidden under the claim your price button. And as we mentioned earlier, it could be done with the CSS. So after we click on claim price button, the malicious script will be started. For example, the browsers that you were using have some active sessions with bank website or maybe some paying apps like PayPal, Paying, Skrillex, Kiwi, and etc. Don't 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 worry, script will pass all of them. So after that, you will be asked more and more questions through the claim your price dialog flow, but in reality, script will try to transfer money, password, resources, or maybe some services from your active sessions. So sometimes the buttons we click are not what they actually do. You have to keep it in mind. The last but not least, influence campaigns through social media. It's a campaigns to change public opinion. All of us, whether we realized it or not, were the victims. It became a great deal last 15 years. That is campaigns that aim to evoke some kind of public emotion, usually negative, and to guide the public opinion and use it for their own purposes. So they're trying to influence your public opinion. Usually it's a disinformation, it's a fake news. Just because you see a picture of something, it doesn't mean that is actually occurred. If you see something, it doesn't mean that it's actually occurred. So these things are very well known to us, although they can be carried out against individuals and large organizations. As a rule, they are carried out at the national levels against their neighbors. So propaganda, fake news, all this stuff, we all remember cases when the same footage of destruction was used by both sides of the conflict to blame opponents of the attack, or broadcasting riots or poll demonstrations in some cities and pass them off the others. So represent the rights in one city, the rights in another one. So one more term we have to stop on is doxing. So doxing is a collecting of personal information with intent to share that information with other people and mainly with hackers and get these people have some troubles with that. It's not okay thing to do. You can't just say, "Oh, I didn't do nothing. I have just passed credentials to the people who did this. It's not me. I did not. I didn't do it." No, it's illegal. It's a not okay thing to do, and it's not legal. You can do it. So hybrid warfare, yeah, it is what you have thought about, and you have heard more than once. Earlier, the warfare was purely physical interrogations, but things change nowadays, and now hybrid warfare is also consists of social engineering, destruction. I mean, it's you are combining your physical interrogations with some psychological warfare, some political tactics, and it allows you to have a propaganda layer on top of your physical actions. So it's very beneficial. Countries will do anything to protect their national interests. A hybrid war can be expressed in deliberate, even baseless destruction of the reputation of international companies, perhaps individual large businessmen or politicians, and perhaps the entire sectors of the economy. But one more term I have to step in is cyber warfare. It also should be highlighted. Uh, these are cyber attacks on other countries in order to find out some data, cause malfunction, and maybe even affect the voting results of some elections. So this is how it works. Social media allows you to weaponize social credit. When we are talking about social media, weaponized social credit is a concept that allows you to influence people's actions through social pressure. So, in general, the social credit is, for example, I'm not getting rid of my old clothes. I'm giving it to people that they need it. So my social credit goes up. I'm a good person. I'm doing a good things. And if I'm coming back home and kicking my wife and dog, I'm a bad person. My social credit goes down. So uh, when we are talking about social media, we have our life exposed to other people, and some of our actions and not actions, if you react or not react to someone, can be used by other people to attack on us. So example, if you don't have such picture of person supporting this thing, you are socially no longer acceptable and your social credit is decreased. And if you do, it's increased. So you have to support us to be a part of team or we will fight against you. This is this works very well with celebrities and politicians. And if the politicians are professionals and they are trained how to act in such situations, not be hastened with their conclusions. But with the celebrities, all of us saw how them support or not support particular groups and their social credit is changing. It's especially interesting when the situation changes over time and celebrities have to switch in air and change their and completely change their opinion even multiple times during one day. So you should not trust information on social networks and generally not to take it close to your heart. You don't have to assume that the information in social media is accurate, valid, and complete. And it could be just propaganda campaign to influence you of some type. Here on the picture is very well shown how the fake news and propaganda works. So first of all, you're creating fake accounts and creating a fake contact. After you're seeding, after you're sharing this content in social networks and properly coordinate this amplification using SMM services and maybe paying some money, this is simply can't be missed. And the real people starting reacting to the fake news. They are starting reacting to it. But these people are real. They are translating their real emotions, their real thoughts. And these real emotions and real thoughts simply cannot be ignored by mass media, and they started talking about it. So this is how fake news really works and how they're being crafted. And the last thing, when we're talking about social media, and you can't waste your company time on social media during your workday, it's very easy to get interacted in some feeds and just doom scrolling all the day. But it's not a okay thing to do. Typically, this is written in acceptable use policy. Acceptable use policy is things that you are okay to do on your work during performing your job task and things you are not okay to do. And typically, you are not okay to spend time in your social media accounts during your workday. Keep it in mind. So, guys, we have discussed all of the aspects of social security, of social engineering, and that should I have been considered in preparation for the CISSP exam. But here's what I'd like to put your attention at. In exam questions and in real life, this situation can be much, much more confusing and way, way more complex. You have to understand what's fully going on, and on each particular pattern, the question could be addressed to the whole situation, or maybe to this from that period, or maybe exactly to this. So imagine you are an accountant and you receive the following message. Helen, update your consultant plus before we lost sight of changes in legislation and got a fine. Here is the link presented here. I will tell you that in this link, the letter L in the word of consultant is replaced with letter I, and it's a typo squatting. So let's think about this. Let's think about this situation as a whole. So this is where spear phishing takes place because this letter came to all your colleagues in accounting department, not only to you. As well as typo squatting because the letter L with substitute with letter I, and this link is obvious containing an error and led to a website controlled by an attackers, where instead of agreeing with the rules of the site, such as, for example, such as cookies, when you clicked OK button, background downloading of some plugins has started, or some script started to change your browser settings. So accordingly, here the clickjacking took place. So since you are an accountant and had access to your organization payment capabilities, this led to loss of money and it was an invoice scam. But the roots of the problem lay down way, way more earlier in the fact that when you moved from your old office to new one, you unreliably deleted all the old files from the equipment, from your hard drives, flash drives, some media, or maybe some of the papers left in the desks, in the tables, which in turn helped the attackers to perform dumpster diving and to impersonate your superiors. And using the principles of authority, intimidation, and consensus and urgency, through that they are succeed with that attack. So all this situation represents, I guess, all the aspects and principles which we will talk about, and you have to keep in mind that the real life scenario goes something like this way. So, guys, I'm thank you for attention. Uh, all I wanted to say, I said, and now I'm ready to answer some of your questions if you didn't understood something or you have to make sure of something or make clear of any problems. And after that, we will solve some exam questions, typical ones, practice questions. So I will give you some time to formulate your questions. Meanwhile, we will start with some practice questions. So let's start with this one. Your organization has a strictly enforced email security policy, which prohibits messages lacking proof of source and lacking non-repudiation. However, you have received a message which fails to meet these requirements and notice several other concerning characteristics. Which of the followings are indicators that this message is a hoax? So option A is a lack of digital signature verifying the origin. Option B is a use of poor grammar. Option C is a lack of correct spelling. D is a threat of damage to a computer system. E, encouragement to take specific steps to resolve a concern which are not based on standard company procedures. F is to claim to be from a trusted authority. And G, inclusion of hyperlinks in the body of the message. Pay attention that the answers are put in the groups. You have to pick three and choose them. So please drop your answers to the chat. What do you think, guys? What it is? How would you answer this question? So uh, let's won't lose some time. The right option here is D. Uh, one more tip for CISSP exam that when you're practicing these questions, when you are learning, when you are answering them, uh, put your glance that if you see something incorrect and it presents almost everywhere, this would be incorrect options. So the lack of correct spelling, option C is in everywhere but D. But the lack of correct spelling is not what marks the message as a hoax. In fact, the good and well-crafted hoax messages will be uh, it will use perfect grammar, it will use perfect spelling, and it will fully mimic the real message. So option C is a false, and if you exclude all other options but D, this is what you remain. And yeah, let's check it out. Lack of digital signature, yes, because it was in the body of our questions. D, threat of damage to your computer system. As you remember, the hoax messages convincing you that taking no action will harm our computer and have a propagation function. And option E, encourage to take specific steps to resolve concerns which are not based on standard company procedures. Yes, typically they are asking us to alternate something or change something or maybe download something. Moving further. Next question. An attacker recently called an organization's help desk and persuaded them to reset a password for another's user account. What term best describes this attack? So the right option here would be B, because we are facing the pure social engineering based scenario attack. So it's not phishing, it's not whaling, and it's not a human Trojan, of course. Next question. A company has been the victim of business email compromise. The primary manager in the accounting department paid a fraudulent invoice for $132,000. She did it so based on the instructions sent to her in a message received from the CEO's email address. What social engineering principle was used in this situation? Let's, guys, remember some principles which we was talking about at the start of our webinar. What principle suits better in this situation? Yeah, Allah, you are completely right. Yes, this is principle of authority because she got these emails from her CEO, so she simply obeyed the orders to not cause some problems to the management. Last couple questions. Mary receives several calls asking to talk to Sue, but since Mary doesn't know Sue, she asks if she can help them instead. The caller asks for other information, but as soon as Mary starts to question what they want to know, they hang up. Mary mentions this to other coworkers, and many of them report getting similar calls. What is taking place at this organization? I love this question because a lot of people making mistakes on them, and this is great to highlight the difference in exam questions and the real life scenario. Ella, you're absolutely right that familiarity is also taking place in the organization because, yeah, we have some interrogation. Someone was calling you, so can I hear this you? Or yes, it's a familiarity. But also, we can observe the resource exhaustion because uh, other people in these organizations has received similar calls. So we are wasting our company time on some fraudulent calls. And this mission took place in because I guess it was you were just dialing numbers in the range of this organization. If you have some body of the number, you can change some, maybe one, the last digit in the number, or maybe the last two digits number, and repeating and repeating this situation. So attacking in a range of numbers. So smishing also took part in. But in general, Alan and others, in general, it was social networking attacks because we was asked what is taking place at this organization as the whole. And as a whole, you have to, on the CISSP exam, you have to choose the best option of all what you got. So, and the best option here, the best answer here would be A. And the last question, what type of attack would the following precautions help prevent? What can we do to prevent it? Requesting proof of identity, requiring callback authorizations on voice-only requests, and not changing passwords via voice communications. Not exactly. How you can request proof of identity of person you can't observe if he's standing next, if he's standing from your back, how you can request his proof of identity? The right option would be C. It's a typical highlights of social engineering So, guys, I guess this is all. I want to finish on this point, and just if you have some questions or maybe some organizations questions, you can feel free to ask them in the chat. Thank you.